Grandpa Otten, they lived in Staten Island, New York.
Uh-huh.
And we lived in Tampa, Florida.
Uh-huh.
And then we lived in San Diego, California, and they still lived in, we went up to see them in Staten Island 2-3 times. The first time Joyce and I ever got to see them really was at age 4. I was what, 18, 16?
About 16.
We were probably
Now,
14
those are-
or 17.
Now, those are the
something.
Ottens, right?
The Ottens.
Staten. Okay, so you never saw them before? You were
Well,
18?
we've seen them. They've been down in Florida to see us, but
Yeah.
let's face it, Joyce and I didn't get into much of a conversation with anything.
You were so
because
little.
we were just little, you know.
Mhm.
And Daddy and Mother, I'm sure, entertained them thoroughly. But they were only in Riverview once and in Jacksonville once, so, you know, it wasn't that they were there often enough. So I really wasn't around them long enough to know too much about anything. They were nice people. They both lived to be like 94, 96 years old. And she broke her hip like when she was 86 or something like that. She had a hard time, but they did fine.
You remember what they died of?
Mhm.
How they died?
How they
Just
died?
How they died? They died just of old age?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. No accident or anything.
Yeah.
Well, let's say 96 and 98.
That's pretty old.
I'd say
Yeah.
that's old age.
Okay. And they're the ones that had 12 kids?
Uh-huh.
They had 15 children,
15
I think, or
children.
more. They had 2 sets of twins. They had 3 sets
Three
of
sets.
twins.
Uh-huh.
A boy and a girl that died at birth, 2 girls and 2 boys that lived to
Uh-huh.
be pretty old.
Uh-huh.
And then they had 1 girl, I think, that was born at birth. But I don't know, I may be off on the 3 sets of twins, but I think that's what I remember.
And your father was the oldest?
My father was the oldest man. Now, whether Mary was older than him, I'm not sure, but I know he was the oldest son. He was either the oldest or next to the oldest. But I think he was the oldest.
Okay.
He lived to be 85.
What do you remember about your grandmother Snyder and
All I can
grandfather?
remember about Grandma Snyder is, again, we didn't see that much of her. I remember in Riverview one time she came out there, and I really don't remember anything except seeing her.
Mhm.
And then I do remember in that house we couldn't find in Riverview that was right on the river near Sulphur Springs. But I remember she was laying in bed and she was having her stroke, which she died a few days later. So
Mhm.
I saw her a few times in between, but Aunt Irene and Mother always, you know, I didn't really get to listen to her too much.
You were talking about your mom's predictions she was making. You didn't have TV, you had radio.
Oh yeah, Mother always said that we watched TV. Excuse me, not TV. We listened to the radio. We had like the Lone Ranger. We'd listen to those series and 2-3 others which I can't remember the name of. And she told us that it wouldn't be too long until we could see the Lone Ranger on TV. Or we could see the people that were talking on TV. And of course, you know, this was a far-fetched idea in those days. But she listened to those soap operas, and I know we'd come home from school and I'd listen to the Lone Ranger all the time. And she had a few other predictions. One, of course, is that people could walk down the street and they could shed wings and fly, and so could a car. A car could end up having wings and it can go up in the air, it can drive on the road either way. And she had a few other predictions. I'll have to think a little bit about that.
Sounded like your mom was a pretty strong-minded woman.
She was very, very strong-minded.
Was she
Now,
more like you or more like like Joyce?
She was.
Was your mother more? Were you more like your mother, or was Joyce more like your mother?
Well, Joyce took after her hair color and her eyes and, you know, quite a few things. No, I had her mother's eyes, excuse me. My eyes were green, Daddy's were blue. Joyce took after Daddy's. But
As far as
Joyce had mother's hair, though. It was good and thick and dark. And mine was blonde like Daddy's, and it still doesn't get gray too much.
Your mother had blonde hair, didn't she?
Hmm?
Your mother had blonde hair, not your father. You
My
said
mother
your
had brown hair.
But you didn't have blonde hair.
My mother had dark hair.
As far as I can figure out and know, Blanche took after Mother in a lot of ways. And they always said that I had Daddy's personality or whatever.
features.
But
Yeah.
not looks.
Not
look?
look, just the
Who do you
personality.
look like? Who do you look like?
I don't know. The only thing I resembled with my father was the blue eyes.
Uh-huh.
But I'm talking about personalities now,
Yeah.
but, and so forth.
Well, if your parents were alive, say your mother was alive, is there a question you would like to have asked her?
If I had one, I asked her.
See?
I can't remember anything I didn't ever ask her. I could talk to her about anything.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but
I don't remember ever wanting to find out something that I didn't ask.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember her ever refusing to tell us anything.
no, she
Yeah.
would.
I remember reading a lot of the letters that you and her wrote when she came to visit my mom.
when you were
When I
born.
was born, I read those letters and I asked my mom. It seemed like you and Blanche, you and your mother wrote a lot of letters to each other, and I asked my mom, where's her letters that she wrote?
Oh, I always, anytime I was
I
away
didn't-
from my mother, I wrote to my mother, wherever I was.
But why didn't Joyce write to her?
Because I was too busy, and after all, Jackie, I got married and had you at 16.
Well, yeah, but before
You know,
then,
and before that, I couldn't write.
I always had to
You
do
did
it.
it.
you always
If we ever went somewhere
She was
together,
my mother.
Uh-huh,
I'm 3 years older.
uh-huh,
Mother, I can remember, Mother had this apartment house. Well, first of all, we rented 2 rooms. And this was at 16 East Church Street. And there were 6 rooms in each flat. And there were
In Jacksonville.
6 flats. This is in Jacksonville. And Mother rented the 2 front rooms. She had a living room, kitchen, well, 3, I guess, and a bedroom. Then she added another bedroom, so Joyce and I had a bedroom. Then she added another room that Jack and Pearl shared.
Uh-huh.
And then she had another one she rented out. Then when the people vacated the one across the way, she rented each of those individually.
mm-hmm.
That's how the man at the cemetery, he was developing that cemetery. He was her tenant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that sold her those cemetery
Now, how
graves.
many did she buy altogether from the cemetery?
36.
36 of them, now there's
Yeah, we
still,
sold 12 of them.
oh, okay.
And
Well, there's still
and
12 left.
Daddy, she'd always send me over to pay the rent.
Uh-huh.
And then if we go traveling, which we did frequently, she'd send me up to pay the rent and rent the room.
Seemed like she relied on you for a
Yeah,
lot. at
But
the
I
age.
was 3 years
She was
older
the
than
oldest
Joyce.
one.
I was older,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, now what grade did you go through? Did you graduate high school?
Well, I went to high school, and at 10th grade, I switched from the high school over to another school that was just a block or 2 from 16 East Church Street.
Mhm.
And I learned quite a bit there, but I quit before the end of the year, and I never went back to school.
Mhm.
Where'd you go to work?
I went to work then at the St. John's Theater.
Mhm.
Daddy laid the floors as St. John's Theater had opened in Jacksonville. And Daddy said they needed a cashier. So I went down and applied and I got the job.
Mhm. Now, what was your first job?
The
Yeah, and
candy.
she became Candy Girl.
Oh, that's the same thing? Okay, we'll let Mom talk some. Tell us
Oh,
about your
I
first
was a
job.
candy girl at the same St. John's Theater.
Not at the
that
same
Bla-
time though.
Huh?
It was 2-3 years later.
Okay. How long did you work there, Mom?
Not long, because we took a trip to New York, and then we
Uh-huh.
came home and went to Florida,
And they left you behind, and
California.
didn't they leave you behind in New York City? Or in Staten Island?
No, when we went, Blanche and I went to New York City to visit relatives. I think we caught the train up or something, didn't we? And I stayed in Staten Island. Blanche had to go back home, and I stayed in Staten Island with Shirley,
Uh-huh.
who was my cousin,
Uh-huh.
because we were having a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
So I stayed in
I had to
Jackson.
go to work at the St. John's Theater. I had to go to work.
You had to get back.
I stayed up in Staten Island. Blanche calls me a month later or something and says, "You gotta come home right now, we're leaving for California." So I got on the train and went home. I think it was 6 months later we left.
I think we left before that because Mother,
Maybe
Mother-
5.
Mother, after she acquired all 6 flats,
Mhm.
which was a lot of rentals, you know, she decided she'd quit.
Mhm.
Now, I really can't tell you if she sold her ownership to somebody else or turned it over for money or just decided to quit. You know, this I don't know. But I do know that she got rid of everything when she went to California. Now, my brother was stationed out there, Jack,
Camp Pendleton.
and she went out to Camp Pendleton to see him. That was one reason she wanted to go. But I didn't realize it at the time, but she had gotten rid of everything that she wanted. She put in the car and stored whatever else it was. And then Jack, when we got there, had already gone overseas, so we didn't see him. But she bought this house for $6,000 about 2 days after we got there. So Daddy quit his job and came out. Now, Daddy must have known she was going to consider staying, you know.
I've always heard that.
Yeah, I'm sure he
Was
did.
there anybody else living in San Diego at that time?
No, we just went to see Jack in the Marine
And she
Corps.
decided to stay. Now, what was the address of the house she bought?
Pardon me?
What was the address of the
In
house she bought?
4432 38th Street.
Yeah.
And she paid $6,000 furnished.
Oh.
Then Daddy came out and he got a job immediately, no problem. And come to find out, my husband Jack,
Mm-hmm.
his uncle, worked with my father, but we didn't know that until 20, 30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jack came back, and then of course we stayed there.
So was your mother going to work there, or did she get a job, or how
Oh,
did she
she's
support?
never worked.
No,
she
mother
never
never
worked.
worked.
Oh.
She never worked anything.
Well, how did she make money then?
She
Just
had
from
the apartments.
businesses?
First she rented the apartment.
How, you know, rented them.
She rented the 6 rooms from the owner. I remember going over and paying for all 6 rooms, and she sublet to individuals,
Uh-huh.
the room.
Well, when you got to San Diego, what money, was she just living on her investments?
Mm-hmm. The money she
And
got
when
off the
Daddy
apartment.
got a job right away.
Uh-huh,
They weren't separated.
yeah.
I gotta see.
Yeah, go ahead and sneeze.
Anyway, he got a job right away, and then he never could get off work to go anywhere, so once Joyce and I could drive, she liked to take trips. So that's what we did.
Was your mom a good cook?
Excellent.
What kind of foods did you guys eat growing up?
Well, she had to cook certain things with Daddy. He wouldn't eat mayonnaise, and he was picky. He wanted German food, and he had potatoes. He
Not
would eat
bush and
noodles.
sauerkraut.
So she cooked salmon croquettes, I remember a lot.
Uh-huh.
She used liver and onions,
Uh-huh.
beef liver, onions, and I can remember it was like a nickel a pound or something. I'd go get it. And I don't remember her ever making noodle dishes. She might have made spaghetti, but she always had baked potatoes or mashed potatoes,
Uh-huh.
potato salad, coleslaw, weenies, those sausages,
Now,
German dishes.
now Blanche, when did we first go horseback riding?
In Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
The Hyde Park stables.
Mhm. How did we get there?
Now that I can't remember. How did we get there?
I can't remember exactly. I think we caught a bus or a trolley or something for a while.
There was no trouble.
Well, something. How did we
Well,
get
Mother
there?
must have taken somebody.
We rented.
Well, did we drive by down? Let's see. Maybe I
Well,
drove.
maybe you were driving,
Maybe I could
but we'd
drive.
go down and rent horses and ride.
Huh.
Always.
We didn't hitchhike, so if we had to, there was no transportation.
Well, maybe you drove.
I must have driven.
I didn't know either one of you knew how to ride a horse.
Oh, yeah, we went horseback riding all the
You
time.
better believe we ride horses.
Oh, we had a lot of fun
We
riding
even rode
horses.
when we went out to San Diego, but we had too many servicemen to date to ride horses in San
Uh-huh,
Diego.
uh-huh.
Remember our trip going to San Diego? How we would drive along the military caravans?
They'd all stop, and we'd stop.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what was that German saying your mother used to say, Mom? Repeat that German saying that your mother used to say. The only thing you know in German.
Oh, Mother did say that. They taught me, or I learned to say, "Gabe Messer Sherrit legt spielen keine Kinderneck."
You know what that means, Blanche?
I did, I should know, what does it mean?
Do you know what it means?
I did know, I can't remember.
Little children should not play with knives and forks or something or another.
Government is Hispanic kind of kid. I remember it very vividly.
Yeah.
That's
It was,
the
telling,
only
it was
word.
telling us not to do something, but I can't remember what.
And your parents spoke German in the house?
Oh,
When
yeah.
they didn't want us to hear them.
Oh, yeah. Always.
When they wanted to say something we didn't hear, they did.
Why didn't they teach you to speak German?
But I
we
don't
probably were
know.
too
How could they
busy.
teach us? They didn't have classes, and the
You know.
schools wouldn't teach
No,
German.
but usually parents teach their children to speak the same language they speak.
Well, they spoke English, it's just that their parents were all
yeah.
from Germany,
Oh,
and they had learned some of the German. I don't think they spoke fluent German,
oh, I see.
Uh-uh.
Just once in a
but
while.
they knew some things, and they knew how to say the basic things.
Uh-huh.
But,
Now, would you consider your parents strict and strict towards
Mother.
you and raising you,
Mother,
or were they not?
yeah, we had a cat of nine tails. She had a cat of nine tails. Now, she never used it, but boy, she threatened with it.
that was Daddy that always threatened us with with the cat of nine tails
Well,
that I
they never
remember.
used it. Do I need to go get the cat of nine tails? Never used it.
So you were basically good kids?
Yeah.
Evidently.
Yeah, we never had any trouble. Mother'd always go, even when Blanche and I got to be teenagers and so forth, we'd go down to the Roosevelt Hotel and go dancing during the first beginning of the war with the military men at the Roosevelt Hotel. Mother would go with us and always sit there. And we loved it because the military guys would come over and talk to Mother, then we would dance with them.
And if she didn't go with us, if we went out alone, she'd be waiting up when we came home, and we'd
Oh,
tell her
yeah.
everything we did.
So she knew when you kissed your first boyfriend
She knew that.
and who you were going to date?
I don't remember that. When did you do it?
I'm not sure she knew when I kissed under the bridge, but I knew
Oh.
if he,
That
tried
wasn't
to
a
get
boyfriend.
fresh or something. I always talked. I always told her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one time I remember, I don't know if it was the 4th of July in Riverview. We were having some kind of a party or cookout or something.
Clam bake,
All right,
They
what
cook
what
clams.
was it that,
oysters and clams.
okay, but there was something to do with the river. Or something, I
Like
don't
what?
remember. What happened?
Like what?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure
You're
out.
talking about the hurricane when the houses came
No,
down.
no, no. This was during the party that Mother and Daddy had.
During the what? Party?
The party, the cookout or something.
What happened to the river?
I don't know. It seemed like we went down the river or something in a boat or something. I don't know.
Well, we had boats.
I know. Forget that because I don't
Okay.
know.
What about on Sundays? What'd you guys do on Sundays?
Well, we went to church. You see, there was a
What church?
Baptist church on one side of the river,
Mm-hmm.
and across the river was the Methodist church. And now, I don't think Mother went with us all the time, but you and I went to the Baptist Sunday school.
And after church, what'd you do?
Went home.
After church?
Just went home?
No, and you know what we do at night?
Hmm.
My brother Jack used to love to go shoot rabbits.
Mm.
So he and, what was the guy's name? Leslie. Leslie? Or who was it that went with Jack? Anyway, a friend of his. We'd go out in the middle of the country someplace that lit after dark. Blanche and I would sit on the fender, or the front of the car, the fenders, with flashlights. She'd flash the light over here, I'd flash it over there. When we spotted a rabbit, they freeze.
They freeze, yeah.
And they'd shoot them.
Could have been Buddy Alsabrook.
And what'd you do with the
It could have
rabbits?
been Buddy.
Could have been Buddy
Buddy
Alsabrook.
And what'd you do with the rabbits?
Took them home and cooked them. I don't remember
yeah.
eating them.
Now, we had a cow one time. I belonged to 4-H club when I was, I don't know what grade it was in, but anyway. And I had a cow for my project.
Uh-huh.
I went out to milk it, and our hands were so cold they were frozen, so Mother had to get rid of the cow. But I remember they killed a cow somewhere, and they hung it out on a tree to cure.
I don't remember
And
that.
then they'd go out and have to do certain things to it.
Yeah.
I can't remember either. I remember seeing it hanging on the tree.
Now tell us about the homebrew.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, well,
Your
she
dad-
knows.
your dad
I don't
used to
know
make
all
beer?
about
Go
that.
ahead, go ahead.
I don't know.
Or beer.
I don't know how Daddy made homebrew. You tell.
Well, you used to go out and have to skim it off.
Well, tell them
Was that
what we
beer?
did.
Yeah, but we just skimmed the homebrew. Daddy would make homebrew,
Uh-huh.
and he put it up in the top of the garage there. Had stairs that went up.
Had a
like-
room separate from the garage.
It was the side room.
Uh-huh.
And a platform, and he kept it. Well, we'd have to go up and skim that homebrew. I don't know quite often, I don't know how often,
Uh-huh.
for a certain length of time. Then he'd bottle it, I guess.
Yeah. And,
After-
and what was the little saying that you had to do if somebody came to?
Well, after Joyce
I don't
was
know.
born, wait a minute. After Joyce was born, she was supposed to drink So my mother's stomach dropped, or something dropped under her. She had some problem, and they wanted her to drink some beer. So it was during Prohibition, you couldn't buy beer. So Daddy started making homebrew, and that's how and why he started to make it. Well, fortunately, Mother really never drank it, but she started selling it to people in her kitchen. So they would come over, and I don't know if I pay a nickel for a drink or whatever, I don't know. So anyway, that was Mother's little side money. And she
was pretty resourceful.
Said something about
Mother was
Very resourceful.
if anything ever happens and you ever see somebody that I'm not supposed to be here, you go take that bottle and run out there and hide it or smash it. So she says, you just say smash. If I say smash that, that's German for smash it. You go get rid of that bottle. Or the bottles or whatever.
Did that ever happen?
Never happened.
never.
She never got caught for selling it?
That went on. You see, people had stills. They made homebrew and they.
Now, was that down in Riverview? Was that in Riverview?
Yes.
That you did that, yeah.
Yeah, Rollison's down. You remember the place I rang the bell trying to get into? Well, that used to be a street in front of them that led all the way down to a house next down there on the river. That was the Rustling's home. And they had a still in the back. And maybe this is for alcohol instead of beer. I don't know. But anyway,
And then after we left Florida, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Now tell them about Atlanta, Georgia.
okay, go ahead, tell her why
I don't
we-
know, you tell them, I was too
You don't
little.
know why we moved? Well, Jack he helped Daddy in laying tile and carpet, all that stuff on floors. And I can't remember why, but of course Jack was married by then. And why they went up there, they sold the house in Riverview and went up to Atlanta, Georgia to work because they had a job up there. But the job didn't start for a while, so they didn't have a place to live and they didn't really have much income. They had a 1937 Chevy, which was brand new. And so anyway, it took a while for him to get going on his feet as far as getting paid. So I remember we slept in the car a couple of nights. But he and Jack built a house, and it was just a one-bedroom house that had a kitchen and double beds that were bunks. And Jack and Pearl lived with us, so we were all, and they dug a well, so they had a well. And then we went to school when it started, and it was freezing. Joyce and I were hands walking home. It was probably a mile or half a mile to school.
Yeah, it was,
And we'd cry, our hands were so cold and everything, so Mother decided we'd move back to Riverview.
How'd she warm your hands?
Well, after we got home, but we had to walk a mile
Yeah,
but
first.
had she warm her hands?
I don't know.
She'd put them underneath her,
Oh,
her
that's right.
arms.
That's right, because she didn't have a car or anything she could drive.
Put them under her.
Yeah, I remember that.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you must have been there just 1 year? One winter?
She what?
You were only there one winter?
I don't think we were there that long, because I know I started, I think, in the 7th grade, and we went back to Florida, and I was in the 7th grade, so.
What area of Atlanta? Do you remember the address?
Adamsville.
Adamsville?
I could see the street, but I couldn't, I know where the school was.
There was a
You
house
go
or
down a
apartment?
ways and then you turn to
No,
the
they
right.
they didn't build the house, they remodeled it.
Yeah.
And there was a prison. You could hear the prison sometime.
Yeah, there was a prison
We
by
went
it.
up, it slanted up the hill, but facing the street, then to the left, back of us was a prison.
It was quite a bit of land, you know, it wasn't a bunch of houses or
Oh,
anything,
no.
it was all open,
There's a couple of houses across the street.
you know,
but,
land.
What were some of the games you played when you were young?
Games,
Games?
Daddy played pinochle.
we used to, didn't we play hopscotch or something, you know?
Yeah, we played hopscotch. We didn't play dominoes or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no. We'd swim, we'd go swimming.
Yeah, sure.
We'd go down there and go skinny dipping at night.
To stay cool. In Florida, to take a bath, we didn't have any running water. You know, we didn't have any air conditioning. Florida gets hot in the summer. We had a bunch of citrus trees, grapefruit,
Yeah,
oranges,
grapefruit trees.
and a few tangerines. We had 5 or 10 acres of citrus fruit.
We had
Did you eat a lot of citrus?
There was-
Mother raised rabbits
uh-huh,
and chickens.
rabbit, chickens, and
We had-
pigs. We had pigs, a couple of pigs.
I don't remember the pigs, but we had a lot of chicken and rabbit to eat. I can't eat rabbit to this day.
And
And
I
I
think
can't
there
eat chicken with bone in it either because I see my chicken's eyes.
I think there was a cow
She bring the
too.
net.
Yeah.
It was fun though, Jackie.
Then we
We
got
had a
away.
wonderful
Fun
childhood.
childhood.
Then we got a well,
We
and
really
Daddy put a
did.
pump on it so we had running water.
Uh-huh. Tell us
We,
about.
we used to
Okay.
climb in the kitchen, remember? There was, our doorway was, a doorway.
Uh-huh.
We'd climb up that doorway with our feet and hands. I'm not kidding, put
Oh, yeah.
your feet and climbing up on that
Well,
doorway.
Daddy built an inside bathroom then because see, all the toilets were outdoors. Nobody had electricity. Daddy and Jack built electric light poles down the street behind us that was just a paper street. It wasn't a real street, but it was a dedicated easeway. And they were allowed to put the poles up. So we were the only ones in the area that had electricity.
Uh-huh.
Also,
And then,
go ahead.
well, then instead of the outdoor toilet, he built a toilet in the house. We didn't have a septic tank, but he drained it into the river for a while before he got the septic tank, but he finally put a septic tank on
Then sometimes when Daddy would be working in Tampa, he would come home and he would bring us a Cuban sandwich from Evo City. He would come there and bring us a Cuban sandwich. He would also bring me some corn candy.
Uh-huh.
And Blanche and I would take that corn candy and we'd go in the back of the couch, or underneath, we had a table that was in back of the couch, and we'd put some of this corn candy on the floor and pretend we were chickens and eat it.
it. Probably. I don't
You don't remember that?
I don't, but I'm sure we did
I
it.
remember
To
that.
this day, you love corn candy, I know
I
that.
still love corn
She's
candy.
the one that liked the corn candy,
Yeah.
so she probably ate more than I did of it. To this day, she still gets that corn candy.
Uh-huh.
I like Milky Way.
And then from Atlanta, Georgia, we moved to Jacksonville, Florida, right? And you started, what grade in Jacksonville?
Well, we moved back to Tampa first,
Yeah,
then we
but-
went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, but when you got to Jacksonville, what grade were you in?
I was in junior high, so I guess it was 8th grade.
Mm-hmm. Mother had, well, you want to tell her about the apartment and so forth.
Yeah. In Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville. And
Now,
That
was just
was-
that one place you lived on, South Church Street?
No, in Jacksonville, we lived on Church Street.
Church Street.
The first place, we rented one room we all lived in. It's in the 400 block of Church Street. It's on the corner of whatever that cross street was, which would be 5th Street or the 500 block. And then Mother bought that place where she started renting rooms. Not bought, but she rented the flat, so she started renting rooms. So that was.
What work did your father do?
He's a
Floor mechanic.
floor mechanic. He laid tile, linoleum, and all this stuff. Now, the first job he ever took was when they went to Florida, to Tampa, to Stress Henderson Dubard. And he got this job. They were living in the tent next door to my Aunt Irene's house. It wasn't on Jefferson, but it was down that way. And he wrecked the truck and he ruined the floor. So, this was about 1923. So anyway, they kept him. They had furnished him a truck. They gave him another truck or fixed it, and they kept him. And when he died in 1987, he was the oldest, best floor mechanic in the whole southern states. He'd been with the union longer than anybody.
Yeah.
So they gave him a chance, and
Uh-huh.
he did good.
Now, after you got married, first off, tell us what happened when you went to San Diego. What kind of work you did?
We worked at the Menlo Market.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the war, and there weren't too many men. So we went down and we got a job at the Menlo Market with Mr., what was his name? The owner of the Menlo Market?
I told you today.
I know. Oh, well, anyway, Blanche was a cashier,
Uh-huh.
and I had to stock the shelves.
Uh-huh.
And we worked there, I don't know how long.
You were about 14 and Blanche was 17?
Well, I guess.